Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do a quick review over Dune and some of the correlations between the original one and this one. I can't play too much because I've already DMCA'd myself to heaven and back. I did a 45-minute one, I've done a 15-minute one, and now I'm going to try to do a quick one with you guys, not playing much of the video at all. So I will let you watch one scene, the very, very beginning, because I think it's a very cool scene, the very initial part. I mean, it's nothing that you get to actually see, but the sounds and everything else is pretty cool. So let's go watch that. Then we're going to come back, and I'll let some play in the background, and I'll keep coming back and forth so you guys can take some teasers at it. So let's go over there. Alright, that is the very beginning of the movie. It starts off like this, and we're going to pause it so we don't get hit with DMCA, and we're going to go. So if you remember in the first one, as they start off, the big brain comes there, is talking to the Emperor, and the Emperor is basically understanding that they have to go all the way to Arrakis, and that they want to kill the Atreides, and the Atreides live on Caladan, so they're leaving their home world, and they're going to go to Arrakis and get rid of the Harkonnen. So the Harkonnen already have a deal with the Emperor because they become so rich and just so filthy that the Emperor can't go without them because they're so rich. They control the spice, supposedly. And that's what the Emperor believes. He does not know about the Femin. So if you remember in the first one, which does not happen here, here an envoy comes, and I'll let you watch a few seconds of it behind me. The envoy basically tells Paul and his father, hey, you need to go to Arrakis, you're going to take over the mining production, and you're going to do this over the Harkonnen. Well, in reality, we all know from the first movie, the Harkonnen are in bed with the Emperor, and their plan is to come in there and kill the Atreides, because the Atreides are becoming too powerful. And what they mean by too powerful or too skilled, they don't need the Emperor anymore, they don't need the Galactic Alliance. So we'll skip forward a few. You see that they're coming there, they're off-world. Now once they get through, they're talking to his dad. This is the first time you actually get to see the Baron. So the Baron comes through, his back is like this. I gotta pause it because if I don't do it too often, it'll DMCA me. But the Baron no longer looks like a nasty creature. When you get to the fight scene, I have to keep skipping around or they will DMCA me because they've been doing this like crazy, so sorry guys. The fighting scene is different. There are no more boxy shields. Where it's on his wrist right here is his shield. It generates to his skin, and basically every time they hit, it turns colors. Hopefully we can see a few seconds of it without. As you can see, it turns red when the blade is slow and goes towards his neck. So once it goes towards his neck or slow into anything, it'll penetrate. Now the other different thing is too, when you get to the scene where he meets the Bene Gesserit, and she pulls out the thumb for his neck. In the movie, it's like a nail, and this one, or in the movie, it's a fingertip prick, and here it's like a nail. The difference between this one and the original is she kind of tells him you're going to feel pain in the original one, and in this one, he kind of figures out what he's going to do. His mom on the other side figures out that he's in pain. She knows what's going on the entire time, and that's what pretty much happens. This time, he knows what's going on from her telling him, in the original one, she tells him what's going on kind of deal, how he's going to feel great pain and to not move. This one, he figures it out, and they go through that way. So it's a little different. We'll skip forward. That's her. She's calling back in Jessica. They stick true to the story here pretty well. Nothing crazy. The different weird part is, in this one, she goes back to the Baron and tells Baron that, she thinks he is the one or he isn't, and then, he needs to be killed because he's not the chosen one anyways. And they go to the land where he is. They have a weird dog too. It's like a spider. I don't know if I can find that because it was such a small scene quickly, but that's one thing you'll need to watch yourself. They make it to Arrakis, and the other different part about Arrakis that they don't tell you is in the original, they know there's spies, they know there's people there's traps and all this kind of stuff. In this one, they don't really allude to how bad they think it's going to be. They know there's going to be fighters. They know there's going to be some problems here, some leftover resistance, but they don't really go through like the traps and all that kind of stuff there. So that's the different part here. When they get there, they don't know there's traps. Dune looks pretty. I'll play a few seconds of it. Hopefully, I don't get copywritten. But it's pretty desolate. The town and the city looks pretty cool. So definitely a lot different than the first movie. They got all their stuff. They brought it here. Now something too I think is different. They put a lot of emphasis on Mapes. So if you go and watch the first one, shout out Mapes only comes in for a few seconds. Here, she actually chooses to shout out Mapes. Mapes gives her a sword, and the sword plays a key role. And there is no sword from what I remember in the first one. And there is nothing about her presenting this sword. So that's kind of unique and kind of new. The sword comes out, she gets given the sword, and the sword goes with her for the entire ride. That's cool. Mapes still dies. So he goes out, he sees the Femin for the first time and gets to talk to people. And the Hunter Seeker comes in, and of course, the Hunter Seeker now is different. It is now this tiny little guy compared to the giant, long, like, I don't know how to say, the dildo looking thing that you saw in the first movie with a needle at the end of it. So it comes through, does the same thing. He catches it midair and then kills it, blows it up, and it goes through. This is where you see him for the first time, Baron. So Baron, well, not the first time. This is the second time you see Baron, and he actually stands up full. I don't know if I'll be able to get it without getting hit, but he looks like that. No more pimples all over his face, disgusting pus coming out. Very, very different looking Baron. So the Baron definitely looks different. Inside here, he still floats everywhere. He does what he has to do, but I can't show it or it'll fucking get taken down again. So as we go through, nothing else here, nothing else here. Gets to meet him. Now he plays a huge role in this movie compared to the last one. The last one, the original, I should say, not the last. He plays a good role, but it's not as big as it is in here. So you'll see that he plays a different role here than he plays over there. It's a little different, but it's still very good. Now, one of the other things you don't see in this movie that they give some precursors to is the Doctor's role. The Doctor, in the original one, you see him taking care of bodies and all that kind of stuff, and inside the body is a note from the Emperor, presuming, and inside the body, supposedly, is instructions on how to do what he's doing, how to keep doing what he's doing, and how to take the shields down, because he's the one sabotaging and taking the shields down for them to come in and take them out next. So I think that part is missing from here. They don't kind of allude to some of that stuff. So then the next thing they want to go do, of course, is see the dunes. They want to go see the spice mining. So we'll go back here. They're getting ready now to go see the spice mining, and they go out there. Now, this is all well and good, but the difference is the carryalls. So in the first original, the carryall is known to be taken away. So when they call for the carryalls have already been known that the Harkonnens have taken them. So they call for them 3, 4, 5 times, and they said they're not there. And then the Duke now says the Harkonnens have taken it down. But in here, in this new one, they pretend like it's broken down machinery. And it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know why they didn't just do the right thing and show that the Harkonnens had it, but they basically just show it's crappy machinery. So that's their premise here. And they go down and pick up the people like they do in the movie, but the other weird thing is Paul gets out of the ship. He has some premonition from the spice out on the ground. In the original movie, he doesn't get out of the ship. So that's the difference, too. He stays in the ship in the original one. This one, he gets out and, like, sits down there. The worm eats the miner as he does in the first one, and that's the same thing. I mean, you can see how he has cool different teeth. This is like the first time you get to see the worm do his thing. You get to see him a little bit further later on. We'll keep going through this. I'm not getting not playing, because last time I was letting it play. So also, in here, well, we'll get to it, they're starting to attack the city, and what you don't see is how it fell. Now, a little different too, the Duke sees Mapes on the ground, just like in the original one. The other one, though, he was kind of walking around. Mapes is right there on the ground. She's dead, and he just got hit by the Doctor. But this one's a little different. The Doctor shot him in the back, and it kind of went in, and it paralyzes him. That's the Doctor. And then the Doctor gives him the tooth. In the original one, he actually puts the tooth in his mouth for him to do it. Now, another weird thing with this movie that I did not like, the Doctor talks to him. He's just basically he gives him the tooth to put in. He doesn't actually put it in his mouth. But then as we get towards this part, So now when he's about to meet, the Duke is about to meet the Baron. When the Duke meets the Baron, and he goes to release the poison from his mouth, in this one, he doesn't actually poison the Baron. He poisons the entire room. Well, I mean, in this one he does, but in the original one he doesn't poison the Baron. He just poisons the Baron's little concubine guy. Well, in this one, he actually poisons the entire room. The Baron gets hit, and oddly enough, the Baron goes into some weird gelatinous goo. I think in the first one, the goo on the ground was what they were throwing all their trash into. And in this one, the goo is what saves his life and like heals him. So he comes over and he also kills the doctor. In the first one, he did not kill the doctor. His little henchmen killed the doctor. And inside this one, he kills him, and then he goes towards him, and then he opens up the poison, and it kills everyone in the room except for Fatty. Fatty definitely gets healed somehow in like the gelatinous goo. Then we go through. Paul and his mom are now making their way out of the city. The other weird thing too that they skip, here's the girl that everyone was going to want. The weird thing that they all skip is the Baron doesn't spit on her now. So Jessica in the original one was spit on in the face, and it looked like real spit, but I don't know, probably not. And he's like very cruel to Jessica. Then Jessica gets taken away by the Baron's like henchmen again, and they fly her out there. The same thing happens on the plane. They use the voice, and the voice gets them to let them go, free them, and then they make their trek across the dunes. So the different thing about their trek across the dunes, now this scene's coming up where they're meeting one of the Femen, and inside here the Femen kind of have their own little way. They meet the Femen, and the Femen guide them, of course. The different part is the Femen kind of guides them and then splits off. They get attacked, which is all well and good. They don't show this part in the original movie, so we won't get into it. But they split up. They go into their own copter. They go into some storm, which isn't in the original one either. So this is all kind of new. They crash it, of course, like they do. And then they go on their journey across. But the different part is once they crash this, and when they go across the desert, is he has a thumper in the original one. And then, of course, they still have the thumper in this one. But his initial thumper doesn't go down, which is weird. And then when they go out, the thumper still saves them at the end. So that still happens. So the thumper will come out. They'll see the worm. And as soon as the worm gets close to them, the thumper's going off from the other guy, from the Femen that comes there, which is fine. So the Femen will come through. He'll save them. They'll still go away. And not too different, but a little different. The thumpers are different. You get to see more of a cool kind of thumper. Second thing that's different is the fighting scene. So once in the original one, the mom fights the Femen guy, beats him, and then that's pretty much it. He gets his name, and they go away. In this one, they fight. The mom beats his butt, and they said she has the weirding way, and that if they would have known she has the weirding way, they wouldn't have fought her, and they said that she's valuable, worth her weight in 10 human bodies worth of water. So she gets to say, well, then one of the guys challenges her and says, you guys can't come with us unless, you can defeat me. And this is the guy who they have to defeat. And then once she defeats him, or once he defeats her, Paul does, or defeats him, then he sees his girl. His girl gives him the name, Moharid. And in the original one, he gets his name from the moon. He asks, what's the moon with the mouse on it? And they give him the name. So it's a little different how he gets his name. He doesn't really get it from the girl in the first one. He kind of gets it from asking, what's the moon? The mouse moon, I think is what it was. And overall, very good cinematography, very good movie line, very good premise. You get to see her ride a giant worm up here. So they'll show the worm, and then she says, that's not all. And that's kind of where the movie lets off. Now, if you remember the first one, this is not where the movie stops. They keep going. They go to the city. Inside the city, they see all the water that the Fremen have been collecting because they've been doing this their whole entire lives, and they're ready to take back their planet now. They're tired of the Harkonnen. They do not want the Atreides to be there and do that, but the Atreides are now all dead except for Paul and his mom. So his mom will take over being the full Bene Gesserit queen. She will be that, and it is known that he's going to be the Quincy Zadorak. So that's pretty much the entire movie and the differences that I can remember as we're going through it. It's a very good movie. I recommend everyone go see it in theaters. If not, download it, find it online. It's going to be on HBO Go on the 22nd. If you need links for it, just leave them in the comments and I'll send you a link. Bye, guys.